everybody, and happy Friday. This is MC, and you're tuned back on into Hyrule Academy. Of course, our weekly show happens every Friday night at 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. So, I hope we're all doing good tonight. I hope we're all having a really fun time. I hope you guys have had a good week. It's our second show, so thank you for all your support on the first show. Hello to everybody there inside the chat. I'm still seeing you guys all talking and having a fun time. So, we need to talk, my friends. We have a very awesome discussion this week. A very awesome discussion, and that is the Great Flood. The Great Flood is a really, really cool topic. It's, of course, the story that happens directly before the Wind Waker and after Ocarina of Time. So, let's get right on into it, my friends. So, first of all, we gotta cover what actually started the Great Flood. And let's talk about the backstory of the Wind Waker. There's a scene that plays, and there's a song on it that is The Legendary Hero, which we did hear during the intro, before the intro. It's a cover done by the Zelda Reorchestrated team. Wonderful little cover. I really enjoy it. There's a lot of covers of Legendary Hero on the internet, but I chose that one since it's the most, I would say, true to the track. So, at the end of Ocarina of Time, we don't kill all Ganon inside the adult timeline. No, we don't do that. We seal him inside his own little special realm. We pack him away, and we dry what's that thing? Vacuum seal our Ganon and put him inside the basement for when we need him at a later date. So that's essentially what happens to Ganon. He's put away, and Link leaves. He's basically like, well, I'm done with this, and so Zelda sends him back in time. And now we have a wonderful, wonderful time where there is no more Link, Ganon's sealed away, and everything is going well. Everything's going great. That is until Ganon breaks free. So Ganon no longer vacuum sealed. He is out and about. And because of this, some bad things happen. We don't know exactly what, but evil returns to the land, is what the backstory says. And the people have to pray to the gods, the goddesses, who we talked about last week. And the goddesses decide, inside their almighty wisdom and power, and a little bit of courage as well, to flood the world, to flood it. They cover in water, they seal Hyrule under the water, and people retreat to the mountaintops. So, what I gotta ask you guys is a couple of questions before we get into today's show. I will address your guys' answers, as well as any questions you may have for me later on in the show. But here are some of the things I have to ask you, and you can go ahead and type those into the radiohyrule.com/chatroom. That was a little redundant, but I swear it is a legitimate sentence. So, here are the questions I have for you. First of all, what sort of things does Ganon do after breaking free? What in the world is so evil? What does he do? What does he do that is so bad that he gets sealed? Or not sealed, that the goddesses have to intervene and they have to flood the world. I think that's like the last-ditch thing, you know? You know, if you're having some trouble inside your house, I don't know, you have roommates. Maybe one of your roommates is not vacuuming their carpet, and you've told them multiple times to fix it. And if they don't, do you just flood their room? I don't think you do. So we got to figure out what Ganon did. My second question is, why couldn't the sages just stop him? There's a very easy answer to this, but there's more tar just one answer, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on why couldn't the sages stop him? They've sealed him inside the Sacred Realm before. You know, why are we having to deal with this? Why are we having to do this thing where the sages are completely useless? Why do we have to go straight to the goddesses? You know, sometimes you have a manager and then you have the big boss of your workplace. Why are we going right past the manager and going straight to the big boss? That's what I want to know. And lastly, my last question for you guys tonight is, what about the Triforce? So, we know that when Link leaves the land, and he's sent back in time, that the Triforce is scattered amongst the world, which you have to later find. But why isn't Ganondorf being more proactive about finding this Triforce? And did they do a good enough job hiding it? Why is Ganondorf so inept at finding scattered pieces, but Link is the most he's a genius. He's a genius. He knows exactly where to go, where to sail, and how to use it. And it's quite interesting to me. So if you want to discuss these questions, or of course ask your own, you are free to do so over at radiohyrule.com/chatroom, and I will of course be reading that and tippy tapping as well inside the chat room. And we will feature your messages here right here on the show later on, okay? But for now, I want to give you guys a little bit more music here on tonight's episode. We got some great music, and I'm actually doing a little bit of storytelling with tonight's songs. Last week's we had a block dedicated Din, Nehru, and Furore all respectively. This time I'm going to be telling a little bit of story. And before what the Great Flood, what is the biggest thing that happens? Ganon is defeated. So I have some good tracks for you, and I hope you guys enjoy. You are tuned in to Radio Hyrule and the show Hyrule Academy every Friday at 10 p.m. I'll be chatting with you guys in just a short while. And welcome on back to Hyrule Academy every Friday night at 10 p.m. right here on Radio Hyrule. How have you all been doing? I hope you guys have enjoyed those beautiful pieces of music I selected for you tonight. I think that the story is being told quite well of how, of course, Hyrule got flooded, and I'll be talking all about that here in just a few moments. But before we get into that, I do need to recap what we've been listening to to make sure, if you want to download those tracks, those were definitely sentences, I swear. So, some of those beautiful pieces of music that you heard. The first one was Artificial Fear's cover of the Ganon Battle. Thank you very much to Artificial Fear. Artificial Fear is absolutely a great metal cover artist. I'm not a big metal fan. I'll be honest with you. I'll be straight up and honest. I'm not the biggest metal fan, but Zelda metal, I can get behind that. And definitely when it's somebody like Artificial Fear doing it. He knows his music, so that may thanks out to him. And the second song we heard was the Staff Roll 2 from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D. That is from the official soundtrack. I think it's a great little, it's a new thing they put inside Ocarina of Time 3D. It wasn't inside the original game, and it is an orchestrated arrangement. And I really enjoy it. I really think it's a good way to end the game. I really enjoy the overall regular staff roll from Ocarina of Time, but you know that piece, it really feels like a good close to such a wonderful game. Probably the best game. It's a wonderful game. All right, and I'm seeing there's a holy smokes! You guys are starting to spread all sorts of great theories and stuff inside the chat right now. I will have to get to that here inside the next music section. But for right now, I do need to get right on into some other things I want to talk about. This week we actually don't have a guest, but that's all right. I can fill the gap. I would consider myself a knowledgeable Zelda person. I have 3 Hyrule Historias. Yes, I know. Yeah, don't you feel insignificant? No, I'm just kidding. I have the limited edition, the regular edition, and of course the old Japanese edition, because I didn't know it was going to come out in America, so I had to do it. I had to buy it. Anyways, let's get on into it. So, the Great Flood. When Ganon breaks free, he's pretty mad, right? He's pretty mad, guys. He's pretty mad. So, he does some things that I would consider to be rash decisions, to say the very least. The biggest one that we know of inside the Wind Waker is that he killed 2 of the sages. He killed Laruto, the Zora Sage of Earth, and Fado, the Kokiri Sage of Wind. And he just did it. He was like, I am done with you two. You two are bad people. You have the Master Sword all powered up and ready to go, and for that you must die. And he kills them. And we can only guess that he goes on much more rampages. Many more rampages. That is the correct way to think about it. All of the rampages. I collect rampages right next to the Zelda collection, of course. But what he does is, it has to be evil. It has to be like he must be burning villages to the ground. He obviously is probably taking down even more sages. I've had an idea, and I sent this a long time to you guys. By this I've mentioned it on my online streams and such things, that I want a game where you play as Ganondorf, and it's God of War style. I know it's a far-fetched game, it'll never happen, but I think it'd be cool, and it would be set inside this time period, where you play as Ganondorf, and then you do God of War style things, where you have to go and destroy the sages, and destroy these temples, burn them to the ground, show Hyrule that you are the king of evil, the prince of thieves. That's what you gotta do, you know? Like, what is he doing out there that's causing all this thing? We don't know. All we know is evil spreads across land, people pray, and then there's water. And that's not a big enough it's not a good enough story for me. I mean, it's enough, like, I'm satisfied, I know what happens, but I feel like there's so much more that we could see and we could feel in this series, so I think that Ganon's an evil dude, and I think he did something very evil, and I want to know what it is. Now I want to talk about something completely different, which is before they flood the Hyrule, what are the goddesses doing? Because obviously there's some forewarning. While some people definitely get killed inside this giant great flood, she obviously tells the king of Hyrule, Mr. Daphne's No Hansen, the goddesses go to them somehow and spread the word, tell him, hey, we're gonna flood the land. And so, you know, this is my personal theory, and I love telling you people this theory because they laugh every time. So they tell the king of Hyrule, hey, we're gonna, just a heads up, we're gonna flood the world. Turns out things aren't working out, so you might want to do something about that. And so the king of Hyrule, he spreads the word to the people of the land. He says, go to the mountaintops. I'm sure some people don't believe him. Those are the ones who died. Some people don't believe him, but there's people who go to the mountaintops. They're all settled in, and the king of Hyrule, in his infinite wisdom, decides, how will I avoid this great flood? So he gathers the best the best magicians in all the land of Hyrule. And what does he do, my friends? He has them turn him into a boat. And that is my theory. That I think that he obviously was still attached to the land, so he left his body in Hyrule, but he still wanted to be able to hopefully save his kingdom. And so he made a spirit presence above the water as a boat. Not a bird, not some sort of floaty thing, not a fish, not a shark, but a small red boat without a sail. And that is, in my opinion, kind of funny. That's how I like to think of it in my head. He is a boat, and the boat is me. Very good from Captain Trina inside the chat. I like that line quite a bit. Quite a bit. Quite a butt. Sure. So yeah, the goddesses, they must have done some sort of forewarning to the people of the land. I'm thinking that she owned the goddesses. They only came and told. They told the king. They told the king and not anybody else. That's my theory, though. So feel free to discuss that one inside the chat, and I'll definitely, hopefully, hook up your opinions later on the show. And if you want to talk about these opinions and you don't know how to get into that, go on over to radiohyrule.com/chatroom. That is radiohyrule.com/chatroom. This is Hyrule Academy every 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time here on Radio Hyrule. And I hope you guys are having a fun night. I have a really great music block coming up for you. So that first music block was all about the end of Ocarina of Time. And now this one is all about the Great Flood itself. I hope you guys enjoy. And hello, everybody. How is things? I hope you enjoyed that last music segment. I think it went fantastic. I had a great time listening to you guys, what you guys were saying inside the chat. And of course, this is Hyrule Academy every Friday night over 8 over here on Radio Hyrule. And we've been having a fun time tonight. I have a lot of comments and things that I'm going to be reading to you guys here in just a moment. But before we get into your guys' theories, I do need to first off address what we've been listening to, because there were two really good tracks. One of them was an official release, and the other one was a great remix. The first one was the remix that was from Razovian. I'm not quite sure how to say your name, wonderful remixer, but he is on OC Remix. That was Razovian, whose song was called Eye of the Storm. That was, of course, a Song of Storms remix, and I really, really, really enjoyed that remix, to be honest. It was a nice symbolism for the world being flooded, and it had a lot of stormy noises, and that's what I like to think the Great Flood was like. I don't think it would be like a huge catastrophe, more of everybody is just waiting, and it's just starting to happen, and there's a storm, and it doesn't seem to stop. In our second song tonight, inside that segment, was The Flooded Forest from Skyward Sword. That was a song from the official soundtrack. I apologize, it was a little low quality, not sure how that happened. It wasn't like that in testing, but you gotta do what you gotta do. But the song is a good way to represent that the world's now flooded. There we go. And of course, I don't have any songs because there is no game that actually involves the Great Flood itself. But I thought that was a good symbolism. It's a very peaceful song, and I really enjoyed it. So I really enjoy Skyward Sword. I'm playing through that game right now on my YouTube channel. That's not a shameless plug. It's just a factoid. Now, let's get on into some wonderful, wonderful discussions with you guys. So I got some thoughts and questions. So I'm going to go through them here, and we're going to address them and what you guys had to say. So first up, we had Slowpoke as a gamer, who said, the reason Ganon couldn't find the Triforce was because he didn't have Tingle to translate the charts. I saw that actually quite a few times inside the chat. And you know what? I at first I was like, that is a silly theory, and I'm going to shame you. But then I thought to myself, okay, there's some good truth behind this. There's some good truth behind this, my friends. So what you gotta realize is that these Triforce charts must have been written in some sort of ancient language. Like this is like a designated spot where the power of the gods will reside. And maybe Ganon just doesn't know how to speak this language. He came from, Gerudo Desert, where they have a different language. Maybe he didn't bother to learn, the most ancient Hylian writings. That's something to consider, and I think that actually comes out kind of extremely strong theory right there, and I'm very happy I heard that, because I'm putting that inside the folder of yes. I wish I had a sound effect to make a little folder noise, but I do not, so you're going to have to imagine it. And now we're going to move on to another comment I had. This one's from Twazi, who says, maybe he was waiting for the Hero of Time's return about, why did Ganon do all this? Why was he doing all this evil stuff? I'm guessing that's what Twazi was referring to. And maybe he was just getting bored. Maybe he was just wanting to do all this crazy stuff, hoping to draw out the hero and take his Triforce of Courage, because he knew the Triforce of Courage had to be with Link, of course. The man who sealed him inside of this dark realm. He's like, well, I gotta draw this guy out, so I'm gonna cause some mayhem. I'm gonna kill off some sages, burn a few cities down. Kakariko had itself burned down a little bit at one point in time. So, of course, that must have been a bit of his thinking, and I'm okay with that one as well. So he was trying to kind of draw out Link is a very good theory. However, unfortunately, Link's gone, so he started causing more mayhem, until he realizes eventually that Hyrule's flooded. He's like, whoops, I did too much mayhem. This is where I'd put an insurance plug. You guys know those mayhem commercials, I'm sure. Anyways, the next comment comes from Pikachu, who asks, quite simply, why did Ganon do it? And that's a good question. I just answered that. I believe we just answered that quite well. Although I have another theory, which is why I brought this up, actually. Why did Ganon do it? Why does he do all these evil things? I think he has a bit of revenge. He knows that the sages were the ones directly responsible. While Link may have stuck a sword inside his head, it was ultimately Zelda and the 6 sages who made the rainbow platform to Ganon's castle and led Link in there, So maybe he wanted revenge on them because he realized Link wasn't around, and so he went to go do that. So yeah. So our next comment comes from Yasi Taru. I'm going to say Yasi because I think of Yoshi. So Yasi says, the Triforce is a very interesting piece. Since the Triforce exists twice because the Courage piece went back with Link, where did it go in the adult timeline? This is one where I believe that we know that the actual Triforce stayed behind when Zelda sent him back in time, is my personal theory. Because the Triforce is like, you know what, I don't want to go back there. There's already a Triforce in that timeline of the Triforce of Courage, so I don't really want to make 2. So I'm going to stay here where I belong. But the overwhelming power of this conflict of wanting to go back in time has split the Triforce into, I believe, 8 or 7 pieces. I believe 8, actually. Or 7? 8? Maybe. Why can't I remember the Wind Waker? Whatever. Oh well. Next up is Captain Trina, who says, I have to assume his actions were going to result inside the death of everyone if killing a good number of people was the better solution. So that's why the goddesses flooded Hyrule. That was why they did that. That Ganon's was getting too powerful, and soon he was going to be killing everyone, killing off races. I saw somebody inside the, somebody else, I believe, Ryo Power, saying that he was going to be killing off entire races of people. So maybe Captain Trina's onto something here where, the goddesses were like, you know what, we might have to kill some people, but at least we're going to have a chance at survival of Hyrule and the land we put our work into. And yeah, it was 8. I thought it was 8, but thank you, chat. I really appreciate you chiming in on that one. Next up, Yoshitaru again comes in and says, just because the opening says the goddesses flooded the world, how do we know that's not just an enhancement for the story? Perhaps King Nohansen Hyrule, You forgot your Daphnes. I don't call you by your middle name than your last name. Use the Triforce to wish for the world to flood. Well, because Ganon still had the Triforce. And the Triforce of Courage was split across the world. Did the King of Hyrule go and find them? Why didn't the King of Red Lions just tell him where he hid the pieces then? So, I'm sorry to deconfirm your theory, Yoshitaro, because you brought up a good point earlier. Actually, no, I deconfirmed that one. Yoshitaro, I'm so sorry. I'm going Professor MC on you, and I apologize. Next up, Fiery Gummy Bears says, in the Hyrule story, it says that King Daphnes entrusted the fate of his kingdom to the gods. So there you go, Yoshitaro. There's an even bigger answer to you, my friend, there. It's because he entrusted the fate to the gods. He didn't directly say, hey, gods, this is what you're going to do. So that is going to be the end of our little community segment. Thank you again inside the chat for all of your wonderful, wonderful comments and thoughts and things that you guys gave me. I really appreciate it. And there was some good stuff and good discussions we had tonight. Very good. You are all listening to Radio Hyrule, and this is the show Hyrule Academy, which does air every, Friday night at 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Go on over to radiohyrule.com/chatroom if you want to tune in and talk with the audience as we do a whole bunch of things. So this next segment of music is dedicated purely to the Wind Waker and what happens after the Great Flood. And it starts with one of my favorite remixes. People give this song a lot of flack you're about to hear, but I like it. I like it a lot. So I hope you guys enjoy, and we'll be back in just a short while to kind of recap our discussions for the evening. Enjoy. And hello, everybody. Welcome back to Hyrule Academy right here on Radio Hyrule, your every Friday 10 p.m. show, all about Zelda lore, fan theories, and, of course, wonderful Zelda music. 8-bit chip tunes. We haven't actually had any 8-bit chip tunes, and remixes galore. I have a fun time here with you every night, and of course that was a small homage to my good old friend Jackson Prody, who also likes to do some gaming radio shows. He's a really cool guy. Anyways, Jackson Prody aside, we need to talk about some wonderful music that we've been listening to, my friends. We need to understand what beautiful music we were brought today by the track listing, by the software. Thank you, software. So we had Her Smilin' Every Summer first from Hot Freaks, and I heard you, Chad. I heard you. I heard some of you laughing. That's a reference to E3, by the way. That's our good friend Reggie Fils-Aimé. Anyways, so some of you guys were pretty upset. Some of you guys don't like that song, but that's okay. I don't like some of your songs. No, it's a good song. It's a good Wind Waker song, in my opinion. The lyrics aren't always perfect, but in my opinion, lyrics don't have to be perfect. It's about the feeling and the words, and that's why I say it. And plus, the instrumental is great. Nobody can deny that. It was a really funky song. Really funky, really brings it out. And I absolutely love that song. I used it inside a trailer for one of my past Zeldathons, in fact. And the song we heard after that was a great little piano song. It's a piano cover done by Tho Mandy on YouTube. And it was Farewell Hyrule King. And that was his second edition that he did this song. The first edition was good, but the second edition was just a bit better. So thank you very much to Tho Mandy. Go check him out on YouTube as he plays many Zelda songs. I love tuning into his channel. I think I'm subscribed. If I'm not, I'll subscribe after the episode. That's what I'll do. Now, guys, it's time we get back to doing some discussion recap, because we had a lot of really great theories today. A lot of great theories that you guys shared with me. I learned the things, and I'm sure you did as well. So I think we need to go over that. The first one we had was Ganon did have reasoning behind doing all this evil things to trigger the Great Flood. And the one that I really like that we learned tonight is that perhaps he did it to, draw out the Hero of Time, draw out Link, find this person who made his life. Well, I can't imagine the life being any, happiness, inside this dark realm that he was trapped into. You know what he says at the end of Ocarina of Time. Curse you, sages, curse you, Zelda, curse you, Link, So, I think if he was trapped inside this dark realm, that was his first thought would have been like, I gotta go do something about this guy. I'm pretty darn upset. And he also may have just wanted to have some revenge on the sages as well. So either it was mostly probably a revenge thing. I don't think he really wanted to destroy just for the sake of destroying. I think that Ganon has a lot of what's the term? Not rationalities, but he has a reason for doing it. He has a reason, and we know that from the end of the Wind Waker. He covets the wind of Hyrule. He wants such a beautiful land because his land, the Gerudo, is very full of death. And I feel for my buddy Ganondorf. Mr. Dragomir, we were calling him inside the chat. Of course, that is his canon last name from the Link to the Past US manual. So, shout outs to Mr. Dragomir. I hope you're listening to tonight. I'm rooting for you, man. I really am, and I hope you get your own game sometime. We also learned that the goddesses did give warning, and it was their own intervention. It wasn't the power of the Triforce that brought forth the Great Flood, or the King. And we pretty much came to a nice conclusion, at least from what I was seeing inside the chat, that the goddesses were the one who gave warning and said, we're going to flood Hyrule, and they did flood Hyrule. I saw a few people fact-checking, actually, their Hyrule Historias, so thank you very much for fact-checking for us tonight. Good to see some of you have your Hyrule Historias with you as you listen in. We also learned that Ganon couldn't find the Triforce because some people think he just didn't have Tingle. But he was still a powerful guy, that much I'm sure. Of course, all these are fan theories, my friends. So don't take it as this is what happened. I know I'm stating it pretty boldly right now. But fan theories change. Fan theories are what we're all about here on the show. So if you have a better theory, you can always pass it on to me. But alas, my friends, we do need to finish up tonight's show. So if you want to tune in next week, you can do so right here at RadioHyrule.com. It's every Friday at 10 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, RadioHyrule.com. And next week, we're going to be talking about something that I heard a lot of you guys talking about in the chat, but I don't think I'm ready to reveal it just yet. You're going to have to tune on into RadioHyrule.com when this episode goes up live on Sunday. I'm going to have a beautiful reveal. I'm also going to put the show up on my personal YouTube channel in case you want to tune on into that. I have a really great topic for you guys next week, and I'm gonna hold it from you. I'm gonna tease it. I'm gonna dangle it in front of your face. But let's just say we have a little bit more to talk about with Mr. Dragomir. All right, just a little bit more. I got something very interesting, very cool stuff coming up for you. If you do want to support Radio Hyrule, you can do so by going to RadioHyrule.com/donate. They're a wonderful team of people. I've been talking to them for the past couple weeks. They're really super people, and the servers must cost a ton because they serve all this music to you for absolutely free. So if you want to give a donation, you can do that. And in fact, they're going to be adding a whole bunch of brand new songs. I think they said over 7 hours of music. Don't quote me. I'm just reading what I'm reading. But they might be having over 7 hours of new music added to the rotation here on RadioHyrule.com in just a little bit. Right after the show, in fact. Right after the show. Can you believe that? That's crazy. If you want to email me, you can email me at mcgamer@zellathon.net with requests for next week's or the weeks in the future. Email me fan art, music, whatever you want to give me. I don't really care. I'm not picky. Lastly, I just want to thank you all for your inputs. And thank you very much for being absolutely super duper. Absolutely super duper. Okay. Apparently, we're going to have 2 hours of new songs coming up right after this. Right after this show. Brand new music starting right after the show. So thank you. Thank you for the update. Radio Hyrule staff. You are wonderful friends and sound engineers. Alright, guys. Thank you all for your input. And I will see you next time on Hyrule Academy. And now, about one last song about the legendary hero himself. I think you guys are going to like this one. Peace out, everybody. See you next week.